So first of all, screw Donald Trump and screw his entire administration and screw ABC for suspending Terry Morin for this tweet that I'm about to read to you guys. It might be time to turn off the mainstream media completely because they're 100% capitulating to Donald Trump and his administration out of fear. And that is absolutely sad, disgusting, and more importantly, scary in what is supposed to be a free country. This is what Terry Morin said. He said, the thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement and translates them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller. It's not brains, it's bile. Miller is a man who is richly endowed with a capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred only a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That's his spiritual nourishment. What the hell is wrong with that tweet? I can't believe MAGAs and the Republican right are upset because a journalist decided to tweet his opinion separate from being on his news station. This is supposed to be a free country. We're supposed to have a First Amendment right to say what we want to say. Now, I agree that doesn't mean you're free from consequences, but what pisses me off is that ABC is actually suspending him for saying these things. The people who are pissed off about this, their boss is one of the worst people in the world, and he says worse things than this tweet. This tweet pales in comparison to the things that he says. I can't believe Caroline Leavitt is on television saying that people need to respect the administration, Donald Trump, and the office of the presidency.
Stephen Miller put a post out about the details of the big, beautiful bill, and he was attacked by one of the reporters apparently on ABC. I saw your tweet about it, and you say last night in a since deleted post, so-called journalist Terry Moran went on a rampage against Stephen Miller. What happened, Caroline?
Well, ABC is going to have to answer for what their, again, so-called journalist put out on Twitter in the wee hours of the night, calling Stephen Miller vile. They said that President Trump is a world-class hater. And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist.
Shut the fuck up. Your boss is supposed to be a professional president, and he's nowhere near that. You guys are up in arms about this. The people who work for the guy who calls the media fake news every single day. The people who work for the guy who calls Democrats the radical left every single day. We're living in bizarro world right now with this shit.
This is unacceptable and unhinged rhetoric coming from someone who works at a major television network. We have reached out to ABC. They have said they will be taking action, so we will see what they do.
They reached out to ABC because someone called Donald Trump and Stephen Miller world-class haters. They want to see this guy punished for this, for exercising his First Amendment rights. Let me know when Joe Biden called for Fox News to fire people because of all the horrible things they said about him every single day on their station. They're trying to get rid of all left-wing news completely. And that's barely left-leaning as it is. But they're trying to do that because in this next clip, she talks about how we're now holding the news stations accountable and we're bringing in new news stations. So what they're doing is, what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to knock off every single news organization that has ever said anything negative about Donald Trump and bring in as many far-right news organizations as they can because they want to control the media, because that is what dictators and authoritarians do.
But I think this speaks to the distrust that the American public have in the legacy media. And it's why in the White House press shop and in President Trump's White House, we have made so many significant and much needed changes to press access and transparency at the White House. We've invited in new media. We have shaken up the White House press pool. And we also just won a major victory over the Associated Press, who thought that they had a constitutional right to walk into the Oval Office or to fly on Air Force One, and a judge said no. In fact, those are privileged spaces that belong to the President of the United States, and this is a great ruling for democracy. We fought them in court, and we won, and so we will continue to keep or hold journalists accountable. All we're asking for is truth and transparency. That's it.
Of course. And you said ABC is going to take action. What do you expect that action to be?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, hopefully this journalist will either be suspended or terminated. You cannot go on these unhinged rants against administration officials and the President of the United States. And then clearly he knew he was wrong, because he deleted the post as soon as he allegedly woke up this morning.
So mark my words, before these 4 years are up, you're going to see ABC, NBC, CBS, the AP, all suspended from the Oval Office, from Air Force One to speak to Donald Trump. And you're going to have far-right news organizations that are going to be traveling around with him because he wants to control the narrative completely. And let me just remind you guys, the office and the person they want you to respect is the guy who runs around calling journalists jerks, son of a bitches, fake news, sleepyheads, all types of shit. They want you to respect that guy. That guy deserves absolutely no respect. He has no credibility. He deserves no respect. And if you happen to have forgotten some of the horrible things he has said, I'm going to roll about a 3-minute video at the end of this video of him saying some of the worst things about the news media. And these are just clips. It took me about 2 minutes to find. You can also find his tweets and all of those things. He says the worst things right in the Oval Office. And I'm telling you right now, if I were in there, there's no way he'd be able to get away with that stuff, because he would say to me, you know, you're a jerk. And I say, you're a jerk, you orange piece of shit. Like, why are they allowing him to get away with this? And why is ABC acting like they're dealing with someone who is an adult? Like they're dealing with someone who is mature. You should be okay with your journalist saying anything to him because he says anything to them. And again, if you forgot, I'm going to roll the clip of Donald Trump saying a bunch of horrible shit. Period.
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. You ought to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back. You ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you.
When you say the Americans were scared, though, I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal that you're putting out to the American people. Donald Trump is going to go after some of the scum that you see back there. I'm on Meet the Press, a show now headed by Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd. He's a sleeping son of a bitch, I'll tell you.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in they heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.